good morning. So this ad puzzle here will be about SRQ Part B. I am looking at page 15 and page 10 of the revision booklet that I've given you. So that because of my annotation, it will get a little messed up. So please take note. Okay, so I'm going to look at chapters 2 and 3. And I'm not going to go through 7B because that I would consider that in recent memory as you studied that for module 2 test. Okay, so now first we're going to look at chapter 2. Now in chapter 2, these are some of the questions that can be asked. Okay, and then let me go through your notes so that you can kind of have a look at it. So for chapter 2, we're looking at challenges in deciding what is good for society. So when you see this bit in your notes, there are 3 columns here, correct? So a possible question can be, I can ask you, is having different needs a more difficult challenge than different priorities in terms of deciding what is good for society? Is unequal sharing of cost among people the most challenging thing in deciding what's good for society compared to different needs and interests? So this is one way or one question that can be asked. Okay. Now another question that can be asked will be regarding the 4 principles of good governance. So the 4 principles will be here. So number 1 is having good leadership, staying relevant, anticipating change, and then we talk about providing a stake for everyone, and the principles of meritocracy. So these are the ways in which we can ask questions. Now let's go back to this particular question. In this particular extract, it will be about the principles of good governance over here, correct? And the 2 that you will see will be anticipating change and staying relevant. So I want you to notice is that when the question is asked, they will actually tell you the topic, okay? Because this part over here in blue and yellow, sometimes they use words that are not in your notes. So later on, for the next example, you'll see what I mean. So the words in red will represent that topic and chapter, so that you kind of like get a hint as to what's going to be asked. Okay. So anyway, what does the mark scheme look like? Now, if you're able to explain with PEEL, you get up to 6 marks for 1 PEEL. Okay. If you're able to give 2 proper PEEL, you will get 7 marks. Got it? Alright, so what's important now will be how do you do the weighing, the conclusion. So that's what I want you to do, and I'm going to ask you to write this down in the ad puzzle. Okay, in terms of anticipating change and meritocracy, which one is more important in that sense? Okay, now if you go down here, I want you to notice a few things. Look at the ones in yellow. You should highlight that as well. This is kind of like not really given in your notes. If you want to get the full mark for PEEL, this part in yellow is most important. If you talk about anticipating change, at the end of it all, you got to show that it will allow Singapore to prosper, economic growth. And you have to show in your links how that happens. So because you make sound decisions, you remain competitive, and therefore you can experience economic growth because the government is stable, the country is in harmony, and it's able to grow. In terms of meritocracy, you'll see that again, it talks about economic growth. So do you notice that the 4 principles of government, in the end, wants to ensure a stable environment so that the country can prosper. So that's what we have to kind of like do. Okay? So now I'm going to ask you to give me the conclusion. So in conclusion, which one is more important in allowing economic growth, so as to speak? Okay, for most students, they will say there is no point in being able to anticipate change and staying relevant if there is no meritocracy. So only the big businesses or whatnot will gain advantage, and this would lead to this unfairness and all that would lead to a very unstable, non-peaceful environment. So you can go along that way if you want. So let's try that now. Alright, Alright, so next we're going to look at page 10 because we're going to go to chapter 3. Okay, so chapter 3 is look for it, over here, Anglican High. So have a look at Anglican High on page 10 of the revision booklet. Okay, so same, I'm going to go through your study notes. Now, if you look at your study notes, you'll notice that it's about the role of government for the good of society and the role of citizen for the good of society. So these are the 4 roles played by the government, and these are 2 possible roles played by the citizens. I want you to note that when you talk about the citizens, you can talk about individual versus organized group. You can also talk about formal versus informal grouping. Okay, now if you look at the question, okay, extract 2 and 3, we are looking at the roles of citizen in partnering the government. Okay, so this particular question, if you notice, this particular question is about only the role of citizen over here. So just now in the notes, I talked about the role of government, there were 4. And we can talk about the role of citizen, there are 2. Okay, when I ask an SRQ question, it can be within the roles of government. For instance, number 1 here, maintaining internal order. Is it more important than number 2, ensuring justice, to kind of like ensure that society is balanced or working for the good of society? So I can ask within government. Now, I can also ask within citizen, which is what this question is from Anglican High. Okay, one versus the other. And I want you to note, okay, that the third way is it can be about government versus citizens. So it can be, is maintaining internal order over here more important than citizens contributing feedback or influencing government decision? So can you see what I'm trying to tell you? Okay, ask if you're not sure. Alright, now let's go back to the question over here. It is about the role of citizen. Okay, and this is what I mean by it being tricky. Okay, the examiner from Anglican High did not use the words volunteering, contributing to the needs of society, nor influencing government decision or providing feedback. Instead, they say things like that: contributing to the needs of disadvantaged, alamak, and shaping policy formulation. So it actually means this and this. Okay, so that's what I mean by making sure that you know what your chapters are about and what the topics are. Okay, alright, so these are the questions, and for practice, I'm going to ask you to use the notes and then tell me the roles of the citizen in volunteering and providing feedback. Now, the reason being, you guys tend to write a lot, and I want to make sure you are able to write within 10 minutes. Okay, so here will be the question. For this, let's just practice the role of citizen. Okay, now is it possible you write all this in 10 minutes for PEL? Cannot, right? So look at the question I'm going to ask you, and then write me one nice PEL for it. This is the other one that I want you to write. Okay, so I'll ask a question in Add Puzzle, have a look, and then you give me the answer. Okay, that's it. I am done.